This week, a proposal to boost the Texas filmmaking industry with millions of dollars has come forward, and all of this is coming as crews continue to film in North Texas. In fact, next week, Paramount's Landman is set to film scenes in Fort Worth. We've been talking about that. And tonight, our media partners over at Texas Monthly giving us a little bit of a look at how the biblical drama, The Chosen, is also putting a spotlight on the state of Texas. This is Sean O'Neill. And Sean, I know you traveled southwest of Dallas a little bit, where the show is being filmed in Midlothian, technically, with us this evening to talk about it. So there are only 2 more seasons, to our understanding, of The Chosen, unless you know something we don't. How has the show helped the film industry in a general sense in Texas so far? And what do you think after that is going to happen once that show is over?
Well, each season of The Chosen generates a little north of 300 jobs for Texas film workers. So that's sound and lighting techs, production designers, background actors. And if you work in film and TV in Texas, and especially if you live around DFW, it's one of the best local gigs that you can land. But even after the flagship show is over, the creator, Dallas Jenkins, has already announced plans for multiple new shows in what he calls the Chosen verse. That should keep them all humming for years to come. And those sound stages that they built in Midlothian, too, they're built to last, and they could welcome just about any scale of movie or TV production in the future. But it sounds like they'll be plenty busy in the first century for a good long while. On a more macro scale, shows like The Chosen have helped the state legislature, which, has not always been the most enthusiastic supporter of film and TV production, sort of see the light, if you will. This recent push to increase the film incentive program, with apologies to Matthew McConaughey, I don't think that happens without The Chosen. The state legislature likes its movies family friendly, and you don't get much more family friendly than a Jesus show. But maybe The Chosen's biggest impact is that it shows that it really is possible to grow a locally based, entirely independent production here in Texas into something that has a huge global impact. I mean, the show started out as the most successful crowdfunded film or TV project in history, and even as it's grown into this massive phenomenon, it continues to operate entirely on its own terms and unbeholden to any sort of Hollywood or studio system. And Texas is a fiercely independent state, especially when it comes to filmmaking, and The Chosen is an exemplar of that.
Yeah, I can't claim to have been a Texan forever and ever, but I've been here 21 years, and it's long enough to, in those 2 decades, to have seen this industry flourish like we probably never could have expected 20 years ago. So it's been cool to watch it along the way. You mentioned the show's creator, Dallas Jenkins, grew up in Illinois, but can you talk a little bit, because he does have a direct link to North Texas, and how he actually ended up filming in the Midlothian area specifically?
Yeah, well, Dallas Jenkins' dad is Jerry B. Jenkins. He's the co-author of the Left Behind series. And when he was younger, Jerry came to the Cotton Bowl for SB22, which was this massive Christian youth festival. And he had such a life-changing experience there that he named his kid after the city. But ironically, Dallas had never actually even been to Texas until about 2005, when he came to film the movie Midnight Clear around the Grapevine area. And it was one of the producers on that project, Chad Gunderson, who grew up near Fort Worth, who eventually lured Dallas here for The Chosen. And they actually started out filming near Weatherford at Capernaum Studios, which has a permanent first-century biblical village there. But it was really COVID that brought them to Midlothian. The show was already looking for a permanent home around 2020. And meanwhile, the Salvation Army camp, Camp Hoblitzel, they were looking for something to keep them afloat during the pandemic. And you can call it fate, although I know the producers credit something higher.
Yeah. And I'm an outsider looking in, but I view movie sets, and I've known a couple of people along the way who've worked on them as crew, and it's almost like this little mini ecosystem or their own little city within wherever they're working or filming. And I'm curious, any takes that you may have on the relationship, what it's been like between the city of Midlothian and then with the cast and the crew of The Chosen, because these are people who, outside of work, they want to go to dinner, they want to go to lunch, they want to go to the health club, they want to hang out. So is there kind of an obvious relationship that's forming with cast and crew with Midlothian?
I mean, there's nothing but good relations between The Chosen and Midlothian, as far as I can tell. I mean, Midlothian's a fairly conservative Christian community. The mayor there is also the pastor at a local church. So, as far as I could learn, the whole town has been very welcoming to The Chosen. They tend to give them whatever help they need, whatever latitude, because a lot of the folks there, genuinely love the show and they believe in its mission. There's probably a few folks who don't always love the traffic that the show brings in. Every time it films, there's thousands of workers and visitors from all over the world. But I do think the local businesses, the hotels, the restaurants, and especially those that were facing closure during the pandemic, they definitely don't mind.
Yeah. The show itself, so it's fairly clear. There's followers who are believers. There are those who love the show, maybe non-believers. But overall, what's helped the show grab such a large audience and people from both sides of the fence?
Well, Dallas Jenkins has always said that he didn't really want to make Christian entertainment, something that's totally pious and self-serious and where it feels like you're just sort of sitting through a sermon. So the show's characters, they feel like recognizable humans, even Jesus. They're flawed, they're sometimes petty, they bicker, they joke around with each other, and all of that definitely makes it feel a lot more approachable. But I think the number one thing is that all the people who work on The Chosen, they aren't evangelists who are suddenly trying to be entertainers. For a lot of them, the message is almost secondary to the art. You talk to anybody who works on the show and you'll find hardcore believers, sure, but there's also plenty of folks who just believe in making good TV.
Sean O'Neill, great discussion. The show is The Chosen, being filmed in Midlothian, and you can read Sean's article right now, simple, TexasMonthly.com, and in the April issue of Texas Monthly as well. Sean, we thank you.